The San Antonio Spurs defeated the Detroit Pistons 114 to 103. This game was a game between two of the top teams in the league. Spurs are number 2 in the West, while the Pistons are number 1 in the East. Spurs had an 8-game winning streak heading into this game, while the Pistons had a 5-game winning streak. So these are two of the hottest teams currently in the league. The way they've been playing the last few months, they've been on quite a roll. This game was an interesting game to start with the Spurs catching fire from the beginning of the game, where Devin Vassell got really hot in the first few minutes of the game. He hit like three-pointers. Victor added a few buckets to put the Spurs up 14-2. And then the Pistons, when it looked like they were going to get blown out, they went on a run to take the lead 17-16. So they went on like a 15-2 run afterwards. So it was a game of runs, I felt, but the Spurs throughout the game was able to weather the runs the Pistons made, but the Pistons were not able to really weather the runs that the Spurs are making in this game. That I felt that was really the case. And they really frustrated Cade Cunningham throughout this game, that he played very poorly. I would say a lot of that has to do with Stephon Castle's great defense on him, the way he kept on harassing him. He was like a pest. And you could see that Cade was visibly frustrated by Stephon Castle, the way he was guarding him, evident by a shove he committed on him towards the end of the second quarter with only a few minutes left in the first half. He got tangled up with Castle, pushed him, and then walked right over him while Keldon Johnson then shoved him. Both teams got into a little skirmish, and there were technicals between Keldon and Jalen Duren. Duren, I was not really surprised him getting involved in this mess, but it wasn't really that big of a deal. But I had to say I was disappointed in Cade when he shoved Stephon Castle and then just walked over him. I expected better of Cade. I didn't expect him to be dirty like he was in this game. Not only did he just push Castle in this game, he also had a lot of moments where he was giving cheap shots to other Spurs players, where he was giving elbows, shoving them when the refs were not looking. Like, I felt there was just a lot of dirtiness from Cade throughout the game. I think that had to do a lot with the Spurs, with the Spurs really frustrating him. They flustered him, and it really got to his head. They really got inside of his head. You could see by him uncharacteristically throwing cheap shots, and I would say Stephon Castle really frustrated him, but also Victor Wembanyama was huge in frustrating Cade, in the sense that he must have blocked Cade, I felt like 3 or 4 times in this game, where Cade drove to the hole. Victor swatted him like he was just a little kid, like he was nobody. So I felt like it was like a combination of Castle and Victor just frustrating him. Castle in the perimeter locking him up, and then Victor in the paint locking him up. That nothing came easy for Cade throughout this game, and it really showed, because he shot like 5 of 26 from the field, which is just like a paltry, like 19% from the field. You're not going to win when you shoot this poorly. That was the case with Cade. They just took him out of the game, and there was really no way for him to assert himself in this game. He tried several times, but he just wasn't able to do it. And you got to give the Spurs defense credit, I would say. Also, you got to give the Spurs credit for not melting this game when the Pistons became super physical, super aggressive. It could have been easy to wilt, especially early in the game when the Pistons came back from being down 14-2. And it looked like they had the momentum the second quarter when they were up by like 6, I believe, that this game was going to turn around for them. And maybe they go up by double digits and win by that amount. But the Spurs remained steady under the storm, and they were able to persevere. So you got to give them credit. I felt Devin Vassell was the best player when it came to scoring in this game. 28 points on 71% shooting from the field. That is ridiculous. And he was 7-11 from 3, which is a high percentage, close to 70% from the field. And one thing I have to say about the Spurs, ever since his return to the Spurs from an injury he had like a month or two ago, they have gone 10-2. So Vassell is an X factor for this team. When you put him in the lineup, they become so much harder to beat. And I think it's because he's the Spur that can consistently hit threes outside of Shippenny. So then you have Shippenny and him who can both hit the threes. It spaces out the floor, makes it easier for the rest of the team to score and harder for other teams to defend the Spurs. So to me, he's a valuable piece of the team. So he was really big in this game. And also credit Victor because the Pistons were aggressive. They roughed him up. They pushed him around. And he could have easily fallen apart in this game, but he didn't. He had a bad shooting game, 6 of 16 from the field, which was due to the Pistons' great defense on him. They were able to smother him and just push him around. He only shot 37%, but I think the saving grace for Victor in this game was he held strong throughout it, and he didn't give up. He was doing other things to help his team win, getting 17 rebounds, which is huge, getting 6 blocks, and each block was like a momentum changer. So he controlled the game defensively. Even though offensively he struggled, he dominated the game defensively, and he locked down the whole entire Pistons team. Really, when you look at what he did in the second half, they were deflated from all the times that they got swatted in the paint. And it wasn't just the times he blocked them, but I felt like Victor deterred them from taking shots in the paint quite a few times. Just a lot of times he prevented them from getting good shots. He forced them to take difficult shots, and they eventually melted to the point where the Spurs were able to build up a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. So you got to give Victor credit because if your offense isn't going, you can always impact the game defensively, and that's what makes Victor great, that when his offense isn't working, defensively, he'll take over the game. So that is a sign of being a great player. That's one thing I would say, that credit to him. And even though De'Aaron Fox didn't shoot well in this game, 4 of 17, there were some moments where he made some heady plays that were momentum killers for the Pistons, where he had some easy drives to the basket, and he took advantage of it. This game was a defensive slugfest. Spurs only shot 42% from the field. Pistons only 38% from the field. And honestly, it probably would have been worse if Jalen Duren didn't shoot as well as he did in this game, 10 of 13 from the field. Some of those buckets Duren got was one-on-one with Victor, so I'll give him that credit. He got a few baskets that way, but a lot of them were from simple broke plays or just hustle plays or putbacks. That's really how I got a lot of those buckets. But if it wasn't for his good shooting night, they would have shot even worse than 38%. So they shot poorly. Spurs shot overall poorly, 42% from the field. But the key for them in this game was them hitting 45 from 3, which allowed them to have enough offense to overcome the Pistons defense. I also felt that they had a little bit less turnovers than the Pistons. They had 12, while the Pistons had 15. So this game was really one on the margins. If you look at it, Spurs had 11 blocks. Pistons had 8. So this was a very, very hotly contested defensive game. And it's a good character win for the Spurs. I would say that they were able to win a game on the road against a great defensive team, probably the most physical team in the league, that tested them mentally, and they were still able to get the win. But I don't have anything else to say about this.